How you going, people? Man, there's so much information that's going on about George Floyd, and I've got so many tabs open up top here. I'm going to try to get through 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 different tabs just on new information, conflicting information, what everybody keeps telling me I'm not covering and what I am covering, and let's get through it. Here we go. So one thing that keeps getting brought up is George Floyd was a porn star. Who cares? Big deal. I don't care how. I mean, to me, that doesn't matter. He does this long video. If you want to go to it, here's a short clip of it.
Man, to the fullest.
Okay. Well, big dude, man. You a big dude.
Man,
I think he says his name here.
right here, man.
What's that?
Right, check me out, man.
Young risk takers?
Young risk takers, man. YT, man, to the fullest.
Okay. What's up? What's up?
Man, you go. You go, baby.
You walking here like LeBron
James.
Oh, man. What's up,
What's your
baby?
name, bro?
Man, Big Floyd. Floyd the landlord, man.
Floyd
That's
the
me, man.
landlord.
Floyd the landlord. Okay, so he's a porn star or he's engaged in porn. Who cares? I don't care how the guy makes a living. That has nothing to do with this case. Okay? Now, other people are saying this is the only thing that has to do with the case. I disagree. But here we go. So here's an interview with the store owner that explains the counterfeit bill that was presented. And this is important because, and I'm going to try to connect why I think things are important and why they're not. Whether the guy's a porn star or not is not important. The fact that Floyd was with the girl that gave the $20 counterfeit bill and then left, met with Floyd, and Floyd came back and tried to reuse another $20 counterfeit leads me to believe there was ongoing conspiracy and that they were both engaged in this. She will be a witness to the conspiracy about the counterfeit, which is a felony, but everybody wants to go, it's just a $20 bill. It's not the preceding crime. I mean, people are saying if a guy has a parking ticket and he fights with the cops and he ends up dying, they're saying they killed him for a parking ticket. No, they didn't. He was contacted, detained, and tried to be arrested for the parking ticket. He was killed because he fought with the cops and died as a result of him fighting with the cops, which is the case in this. I'm not excusing the officer. I think the officer was wrong. I think he was on his neck too long. I think it's a bullshit approval by the PD per policy that cops can do that. But I think the cop was following policy, and that's going to be a problem with the prosecution. So let's listen to the store owner.
And the individual that was with him first presented a counterfeit $20 bill, and that was caught at the point of sale and given back to the individual, and the individual left the establishment. About 10 minutes later, the victim came with another $20 counterfeit bill, and that was not caught. It was taken after George Floyd left the establishment. Our staff made a practice protocol to the police. When the police arrived.
Okay, so the first girl tried to pass it. They caught it. Went outside. She may have gave the same bill or it could have been a different bill. And then Floyd went back in with it and bought something. So for them to say that Floyd didn't know it was counterfeit, for all the people that's defending him, maybe he got it out of an ATM. That doesn't sound reasonable if you talk to the shop owner. Now, the shop owner later on in his interview says that he knows Floyd and Floyd was a good customer and never caused him any problems. That doesn't matter for the fact that, how does that change anything? He still tried to commit a felony by passing, and he did in fact pass a $20 counterfeit bill with someone else who tried to pass it before him. To me, that's relevant. To the legal experts that got their criminal justice degree at Walmart, it's not important. The only thing that's important is white man, knee on a black man's neck. That's the only fact they care and they want to know. I always said GoFundMe was a criminal enterprise that basically allows anybody to steal money from anybody and stupid people give it to them. So this is the results of George Floyd. There's 568 results found on GoFundMe. And the top ones are right here. Official George Floyd. They've already raised $5.1 million. They originally wanted 1.5, and they've already got 5.1 million because their son, who was an ex-felon, a parolee, was trying to pass counterfeit bills. died while fighting with the cops. They got $5.1 million. And cities across the country burned. This is why I say the black community doesn't have any credibility when they defend anybody because of their color, and they condemn other people because of their color. This is another George Floyd, Big Floyd. This guy's raised $151,000 on his. He wanted $5,000. He's already raised $151,000. Bail fund for George Floyd. Well, he doesn't need bail. He's not in custody. This guy's raised $2,500. So the list goes on. Rebuilding Minnesota has raised $4,000. Racial injustice, another $4,000. Ride for George Floyd, another $1,200. On behalf of George Floyd, they've raised $340. They're trying to get $3,000. Victim of George Floyd riot. These guys are a victim of the riot. They've got $600. They want $2,800. I survived George Floyd. He raised $185. So I didn't know if it was true. Everybody's saying, man, his family's already got $5 million on GoFundMe. They did. That looks appear to be fact according to this page. Does that matter on the case? In my opinion, it does not matter. It's not relevant. Will it matter in the civil case? Absolutely. If they try to sue civilly and get money, the attorneys will be able to say, you got this much money already. So it will have an impact on the civil case, in my opinion. In this video, this guy points out some good stuff about the ambulance and why cops are loading him and why there's no EMT loading him. And I didn't notice this in the other video, but he got some pretty good footage, and it does seem suspicious. Why are armed cops loading him on a gurney and putting him in there instead of EMT? Now, I know somebody's going to be out there, well, EMT couldn't go out, or they had to stay in a truck and only the cop. There may be reasons. I'm just saying that is suspicious. Why aren't the trained medical EMT, ambulance, paramedics out giving aid and loading this guy? To me, this is relevant.
All right. So now they're pulling the gurney out right there, as you can see. All right. You're going to get glimpses of this. But I want you to notice something. You're going to come over. You can see somebody somewhat check his pulse. They're still arguing with him. Just pay attention. Now, here's where it's at, where I'm talking about. When all this starts to happen, pay close attention to this. That man right there that you can see, that guy in the top of the screen that's about to walk over to the man. He gets out the way. Just look at this. This man who's touching him. All right?
And this cop right here that keeps trying to block, this is your typical thin blue line. I'm going to block the camera. I don't want anybody to see. You shouldn't be videotaping us. This is just typical thuggery, protecting the blue line lies. So this guy has a mask on and gloves, but he's a cop. Why isn't he an EMT? I mean, unless they gave EMT guns.
Right. Not the officer. The man with the watch on right there. I want y'all to pay attention to something to him. He has a bulletproof vest on.
Looks like he's got a radio on too. And a bulletproof vest. And he's got what appears to be, I don't know if the ambulance drivers wear tan, but sheriffs usually wear tan.
Right? He has an officer's uniform on. No one paid attention to that when the ambulance pulled in.
Now, I can't tell if that's a gun belt or an EMT belt. Maybe this is just a vest for EMT. Maybe he is an ambulance driver.
Not one EMT got out of the vehicle. But there's no medical equipment there whatsoever. That there were cops who jumped out of the back of that ambulance and picked up that man and put him in there. So they didn't even give him medical attention, and those were not the EMTs.
So is this a cop or is this an EMT? I don't know. This is a cop. I don't know if this guy's an EMT with a vest or not, but it does look, if it's cops,
They show him.
it looks suspicious.
Those are police officers.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure he is a cop. It looks like it's just an EMT uniform. If you can tell on his web belt,
Those are
it looks like he's got a flashlight, no gun.
police.
No gun over here, no handcuffs. This holds his radio. So maybe this is an EMT uniform. When I first saw it, I was like, man, they do look like cops. But again, another conspiracy theory that people are saying, does this matter? It might matter. Everything's going to matter in a murder trial. Everything matters. On this website, they go into George Floyd's violent night of invading the home of a single woman, robbing and beating her at gunpoint. This was one of his crimes. He went to prison. Now, does this matter? Well, it goes to the credibility of the witness, and it matters to the fact that if we're going to bring up what the officer did in his career, which I'm going to get to here in a second, his complaints and him shooting and killing people in the course of his job, then it matters. So this doesn't matter that the cop, it doesn't change the fact that the cop should not have knelt on his neck until he was dead. I think that was a bad procedure. I think it was bully behavior of police. I think it's the unaccountability of police. This doesn't matter for that, but it will matter in the civil trial when they try to paint the picture on this guy was a great father and he would have provided for his kids and he was paying for their college and he was doing all these things. They can't say that, which means they're not entitled to as much loss, which means the damages will be less. So does it matter in court? It does matter. Nobody else out there who wants to just say white man, knee on black man, they don't want anything else to matter, but this is going to matter in court. Now, CNN did a hit piece on the charging document saying it was all BS and it was wrong and they put information. It was a total bullcrap. I mean, they bring up Trump in the charging document like 3 or 4 times in this article. Like it's Trump's fault that the way a local prosecutor charged a crime. But, so he says the crime specifies that Floyd is over 6 feet tall and weighs more than 200 pounds. Okay, this is extraneous details. Why do prosecutors go out of their way to specify Floyd's body measurements? What is the relevance? I'll tell you the relevance. The relevance is he's a large man, and in court, that's going to matter. When the judge and the jury has to review all these things that goes in, it's also going to matter that there were 3 cops on him. That's going to matter. If you don't want to say that he was a big guy, would you say it was okay if he was a little girl? If he was a 90-pound woman and there was 3 cops on him, would you think that was important? Of course it is. Is it important because he's a 6 foot, 200 pound? Of course it is. But this was a CNN hit piece full of lies with their typical fake news. Another thing people are bringing up is George Floyd was an ex-officer. They worked with each other. They knew each other. Oh my God, the conspiracies fly. Is this going to matter or is this important? If they knew each other and had contact, either professionally or personally, that will matter. What was the extent of that contact? Did they just work at the same place and they saw each other? Is there any evidence that the cop didn't like Floyd or Floyd didn't like the cop or they had a run-in? Floyd worked inside. He was the paid cop. This cop worked for 17 years as a bouncer at a bar, and he never had any problems. To me, that helps him. Not only was he a cop for 19 years, but he was there. I'm not saying, everybody's going to be here, you're trying to justify it. I'm not saying it justifies his knee, but all these facts are relevant when it goes to judging whether this guy had malicious, whether he had it out for black people, whether he was the white racist white devil that everybody's trying to make him out to be, when in fact he was doing what cops do. I still say if Floyd was white, this cop would have knelt on his neck and killed him the exact same way. It didn't matter. I have no doubt that this guy did not do this because he was black. I know it doesn't fit everybody's narrative, and I know it's not popular, but I'm telling you, this has to do with tyrannical cops being above the law, doing what they think they can do and get away with it without being held accountable. This is the typical way that cops operate. That's why this happened. It just happens to be that Floyd was black. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. All right? So, if they knew each other, if there was prior history, did they get along? They could have been buddies. Nobody knows. Floyd was a bouncer inside the bar for security. He was the paid cop outside the bar for security. So he didn't go inside the bar, and usually the bouncers don't go out because bouncers and cops tend to stay away from each other. They let them do their gigs, and they let them do their thing. If he threw somebody out, then he would arrest him or take him into custody. Okay, so is that relevant? It can be. It may not be real relevant, but it's definitely something that needs to be addressed, researched, and looked into and explained to the jury. Text messages, bar owners need to be reviewed. People that work there need to be reviewed. Other bouncers, other security, other cops, all those people need to be interviewed. So it will matter, but how much will it matter? I don't know. And I don't know if this is a hit piece on the wife or the cop or if this is a protection measure, but this really doesn't have any bearing on the case. But it sure makes for good readings and good let's hang the white cop before he even ever gets to trial. Lawyer says, wife of ex-cop Officer Derek Chauvin files for divorce. Now, if you go down here to the article, a lawyer has issued a statement from the wife of the now arrested charged Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, blah, blah, blah. She has filed for divorce. This evening I spoke with Kelly Chauvin and her family. She's devastated by Mr. Floyd's death. Utmost sympathy lies with the family and her loved ones. Everyone is grieving. She has filed for dissolution of a marriage and reads the following statement. While Ms. Chauvin has no children with her current marriage, she especially requests her children, elder parents. To me, this may or may not, but this article leads me to believe this is BS. This almost sounds like, let's get out here because I'm afraid my parents and children might be targets because I'm married to this guy. My guess is, and this is just a swinging wild ass guess, I'm just saying, this divorce was already in the makings. This was a long time coming. This divorce was not a result because the wife saw what her husband did. Okay? Call me stupid. I know there's going to be other people. Rick, he did it so bad his wife lost confidence and that's good that she left him. I don't believe she left him because of this video. This could have been the icing on the cake. This could have been the straw that broke, the needle that broke the camel's back. Whatever you want to say it is, it could be. But the limited information here, I doubt that she's getting a divorce just because of this case. But it sounds good, it looks good, and it beats up the guy that's in jail. So the media loves it. Now, if it comes out that she says he used to beat her, and she was tired of him coming home and saying, I beat up a bunch of black guys today, and I like beating black people. Now, if she has information like that, or if she makes it up and wants to screw him, well, then she can. Now, the other reason she's filing divorce quickly, which I know everybody's going to be like, Rick, that's just cold-blooded. I'm just looking at the human nature. If she divorces him now and gets part of his retirement, and he ends up getting convicted and loses his retirement, she will not lose her part. Only he'll lose his part. So could this be a financial filing? Rick, that's cold-blooded. I can't believe you're thinking that way. Well, shit. I'm just a realist, I guess. Another conspiracy floating is this cop is the same cop as the Sandy Hook shooting, and it's the same cop at the Boston bombing. And it's all a conspiracy, and somehow the CIA and the government got the same cop to do the bombing, to do Sandy Hook, and now they got him to kill a black guy to caught people. Are people really that? Look, I don't trust the government probably less than everybody else. But to think of these conspiracies, I don't buy this. But if you want to believe it, if you think these are all the same people, knock yourself out. I don't see a whole lot of credibility here. I don't think how this changes anything. Unless, of course, it's true. If it's true, of course it's relevant. But I'm guessing it's just more BS, fake news. CNN maybe will run with it. And this is a video which I find suspiciously cut quick. It shows them fighting with Floyd on the door. And it looks like there's pretty good resistance, but it suddenly stops. And I don't know if this is the whole video, if there was more before and more after, and we're only being given the sheep's view of the video. But here's the video. Struggle. Struggle fighting, calls for help. This officer comes over, his lights on, he's in a hurry. It takes two of them. Floyd's 6 feet, 200 pounds. Two officers are struggling for quite a bit of time to try and get him in cuffs. This wasn't an easy task by no means. There's obviously resistance. No, I'm not justifying the knee on the neck. I got to keep saying that because these idiots all want to come here and comment. You're trying to justify the knee on... No, I'm not. I'm trying to get all the information so I can put facts together because the government is hiding half the crap. And here's another video that's kind of we're only getting bits and pieces of, and it's been cut up by the media, where it shows the officers and you hear him saying, "I can't breathe, let me out." This, to me, is one of the more damaging videos. When I say damaging, I mean bad for the cops, good for the prosecution. Because it shows these guys hold him and he's pleading for his life. And when people hear somebody plead for their life, that's emotionally charged. So this is going to be probably one of the most damaging videos for the cops and helpful for the prosecution if he gets a conviction. Now, here's where this video, where everybody wants to take this out of context. Because if it was up for most people, they would say everything else is irrelevant. All you got to do is show this. The guy's guilty. He should go to prison for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, people get mad at me when I tell them the truth. Totality of circumstances. That means everything. That means his prior history, the officer's prior history. What is the prior history of all these officers? How did they fight? How did they get from the other side of the car to here? Where's the body cam footage? We haven't seen that. Where's the radio traffic? We haven't seen that. Did anybody come out when they ran him and say, this guy is convicted felon out of Texas for armed robbery with a weapon, officer safety, officer warning? Was that told to these officers when they were dealing with him? If it was, it changes it. I know all the idiots are here telling me, Rick, he was in Texas. That was 10 years ago. It was 6 years ago. It shouldn't matter. Maybe it should. Maybe it shouldn't. But when officers hear officer safety warning, this is a prior felon out of Texas, armed robbery, aggravated assault, possibly armed and dangerous, it matters. And it changes things. And it all justifies extra force, and it justifies not taking unnecessary risks with this person because of their history. And everybody wants to get mad at me because I'm bringing up his history, but I'm just trying to tell you how the courts work. If you don't like it, change the courts. See, the left-wing media and all the left-wing that wants this racial crap, they just want you to hide everything that doesn't help their agenda. And I'm trying to get everything that's out there about their agenda. Actually, not about their agenda, about the truth. So why can't we get the full video of this? Why did they release the full video in just parts? Rick, some people say they shouldn't have released any of it. I think they should have released everything. I think when people have full information, they make better decisions. I think when they're controlled and lied to by the government, this is why we're in a state where everybody's just burning down everything, because we're fed up with a lying government. We're fed up with the government protecting officers. We're fed up with the government protecting blue thugs and their blue line crap, preying on citizens on the highways, on the roadways, in their homes. They can't go to the bar. They can't go to the store. You can't go out in public without becoming a victim of the blue line somehow. Even honest citizens can't go out there and live in fear. Nobody wants the cops around. Nobody wants the cops to help them. Nobody thinks the cops help them. Why? Because they don't. They protect themselves, and they just abuse everybody with their bully, militaristic tanks and blue line matter crap. Hang on, I'm not finished. So I'm thinking this is the booking photo of the officer. They've got the photo, Derek, at the sheriff's office. So here's his booking photo, and here it says, cop, Derek's friends, work, personal background, detailed. Had nearly 20 complaints and 2 letters of reprimand. Well, that makes a good headline, and I know people are going to think I'm defending a cop. The guy was a cop for 19 years. Not only was he cop for 19 years, 17 of those years he had a second job at a bar where people are drunk and fighting all the time. And out of all that time, he's only got 20 complaints? That's about 1 complaint a year. I don't know a cop that doesn't get 1 complaint a month dealing with jerks in a jerk city. So 20 complaints over 19 years almost makes him look like the poster child for good cops. Rick, you're just defending him. I'm not defending him. I don't know what the letter of reprimand's for. I don't know what the 20 complaints were. But I know 17 of the complaints were unsustained, which isn't I mean, most complaints against cops are unsustained. Doesn't mean that the cops blew it off. It means a lot of people make false complaints against cops. There's a lot of good complaints against cops that don't get investigated and that are covered up. I agree. But there's also a whole lot of people that make fake complaints against cops. Just like there's a lot of women that make fake complaints against guys, beating them, domestic violence, and other sexual crimes. But I digress. Let's get to this meat of this. So the article loses credibility right off the back when it goes, a white police officers. Oh, really? So, and he knelt on George Floyd's neck. Oh, so let me just change this and see if anybody's got a problem with it. A police officer fought with a black George Floyd who was committing a crime. Would everybody be okay with that? How about if it says a police officer knelt on a prior convicted felon, ex-prisoner out of Texas, black man who was committing a new crime? Would somebody have a problem with that? No. So this article, when it leads out with the white racial BS, it loses credibility. It tells me it's a hit piece. Anyway, a white mini police officer, George Neck, spoke. Okay, his career, 44 years old, became the focus. 46 kneeling on a black man. So we have to get the color. White man kneeling on black man for almost 8 minutes. No, I'm not justifying what he did. No, I'm not protecting the cop. No, I'm not saying what he did was right. Don't try to manipulate the scenario and twist my words to fit your warped sense of reality. Okay? The cop was wrong. This article's wrong. And the people that are yelling, this is a white cop, a black man issue, is full of crap. This is a criminal and a cop and a tyrannical cop that killed a dude while he was in his custody. That's the issue. But people don't want to hear that. It doesn't fit their agenda. All right, let's see. Oakdale Drive splattered paint. Let's see. Chauvin, whose Oakdale driveway. Oh, so they went to his house and splattered it with red paint and graffiti, putting murder on it. Maybe that's why his wife's divorced him and released that thing, because he got death threats. The city council records show that the officer moonlighted as a bouncer at a downtown Latin nightclub. Oh, he worked at a Latin nightclub. Does that mean he's not a racist? Or maybe he only dislikes black people and he likes Mexican people? Well, all right, let's see. He was among a group of 6 officers who opened fire on a stabbing suspect that ended with the suspect pointed a sawed-off shotgun at them. The suspect was hit multiple times and died. Who thinks that was a good shoot? I don't even know the details. This is a hit piece on the guy, and it still sounds like good shoot. You open fire on a guy that points a sawed-off shotgun at 6 cops, and the cops shoot him, and somebody finds that has somehow this white police officer's out of control? To me, this helps him. Like, dude, 19 years, he's only got 20 complaints, and his one shooting, a dude aimed a shotgun at him, and it doesn't even say that he shot him or hit him. It just said he was involved. He was among a group of 6 officers who opened fire. So maybe he shot. Anyway, so that doesn't. 2 years later, Chauvin responded to a domestic dispute. Okay, pretty common for cops. According to the Pioneer Press, the 911 operator received a call from the apartment, heard a woman yelling for someone to stop hitting her. So somebody called 911. They were asking for help. This is what's called an exigent circumstance. The cops show up to protect a woman from being hit. Chauvin, another officer, arrived. Tolles locked himself in the bathroom. Chauvin forced his way into the bathroom. Tolles went for Chauvin's gun, and Chauvin shot him twice in the stomach. Tolles survived and was charged with 2 counts of felony obstruction. It doesn't say whether his fingerprints were on the gun, whether it was really... Look, the guy pled guilty. That tells you he knew he was going to lose and went to court. Tolles said that the mother of his child, that's the baby daddy's mama or whatever, called the police that night, and he had fled in the bathroom after Officer Chauvin then broke down the door and started to hit him without warning. Chauvin started hitting without warning? Lady, you called 911 and said Chauvin was hitting you, and now you're saying the cop was hitting him. Maybe this woman isn't a reliable, credible witness. He said he fought back in self-defense and was too disoriented to go for the gun. So now we have an expert opinion from a wife who called 911 that was just beat, and she's testifying to the mentality of Chauvin, who was just beating her, that he was too disoriented to go for the gun. This has absolutely zero credibility. This is a hit piece. Tolles ultimately pled guilty to a misdemeanor, but still feels the pain from the shooting. Well, okay. Let's see. On Reddit, so 17 complaints have been filed against Siobhan. 16 were closed with no discipline. Now, I'll agree. A lot of cops should be disciplined on some complaints, and they don't. But I also agree that a lot of cops get a lot of fake complaints. Okay, the 2 remaining complaints, one apparently related to use of a squad car dashboard camera. The records don't include details or the substance. Siobhan was also among 5 officers that chased down an American Indian. Okay, we got to get down. White cop, American Indian, white cop, Latino bar, white cop, kneel on black man. Everything's about color, even though it has nothing to do with it. Chased down an American Indian in a housing project. They spotted him running with a pistol. So we got a man running with a pistol. No, Rick, it was an American Indian running with a pistol. Okay, so we got a man running with a pistol. One of the other officers, Terry, shot the man in the torso, and the guy survived. All the officers were placed on leave and were absolved with no wrongdoing. So they're trying to use this against Siobhan. All I'm hearing on this case, on this officer, what about the cop that had 20 complaints and killed 2 people? See, when you read the facts, it's all BS. I'm not defending this guy kneeling on this guy's neck and killing him. But I'm defending that he doesn't have the record that everybody's trying to say. Now, last but not least, my recent video where I covered the article that covered his history. And I went into it and I put this video. I'm getting attacked left and right by all the haters saying that I'm a racist and I'm mean and I did this just to make Floyd look bad. And this has nothing to do with the case, and it was all over a $20 bill, and I'm just showing my racist color. Look, I've been called racist so much. Anybody that's been around black people will be called racist sooner or later. If you stub your toe, bump into them, bump a chair, you're going to be called a racist. It's just what they do to shut you up and to make you be quiet. I'm so tired of it. It has no meaning. So when somebody really is doing something that could be considered racist, nobody listens anymore. Because they call white ice cream. I did an article where they called milk racist because it was white. Everything is racist. White cars are racist. So it doesn't bother me that they come here and call me racist. It just pisses me off that people run and hide from that because they're afraid to be called that, so they don't speak the truth. I didn't make anything up about George Floyd. I simply read his charges that a news article, I think it was a Daily Mail, that they put out, and I went over his charges. And I said, that shows, and it goes to the credibility of the witness. It goes to the case when you go to trial. It's going to go to whether or not this guy was really a pillar of community, like all the left-wing media that's been putting out. He was a gentle giant. He was such a nice man. He never did anything wrong. And now we find out he did a home invasion with a gun. He held a gun to a pregnant woman's body. He beat another woman. He was in prison. We found all this information, but again, it doesn't fit the liberal left agenda. All the people that want to call everybody racist when they bring up facts. Facts are not racist, people. Even if 20 people say they are, they're still not racist just because they're facts. Okay? Whole bunch going on with George Floyd. We'll see where this goes. We'll see how the charging document goes. I'm not defending the cop. I've said it 1,000 times. Everybody wants to think I am, but I'm not. If you look at my other videos, watch my playlist, Earning the Hate, all I do is crack on bad cops. And I say how bad and out of control they are. Earning the Hate. I make videos on it daily. I have 5 new videos that are about to come out during these riots where cops are earning the hate. I am not protecting the cop. I'm merely putting out facts and information so reasonable people can have all the information and we can all make our own decision on what we think is reasonable and what we think is just and right. Most people are going to agree George Floyd should not have died that night on that incident. Most people will agree with that. But most unreasonable people will say, no, it was just a white cop wanting to kill a black man. To me, I don't buy it. That's my point. That's my video. Hope it helps. Well, then out there,